Okay, now it's time to take the next step. But before we do that, let me just remind everyone that it's important to go in and look at the prior videos that was created. The first one was called Introduction, where we went in and looked at FileMaker, FileMaker's history, where does FileMaker come from, how long have it been around, what is it that is so unique by FileMaker, what can it do for you as a company. And then the second video I created was how to get started. Where do I find it on a Windows platform and a Mac platform? Of course, as I joked around, that you can't find it if you haven't installed it. And also that I reminded everyone about that if you try to run peer-to-peer, if one of your workstation works as a server, it is very important that that machine is turned on, that the program is running. And then the prior movie to this one here was the movie called Menus and Navigation, where we went in and looked at the menu structure in this new solution, the Client Management Business Solution. And as you can see here, here is the main menu. And as we were talking about in the prior movie, there is three menus. There is the main menu, there is the setup menu, and there is the startup menu. And then we went in and looked at the buttons here and what that means. Where do we work normally if we are dealing with clients, and why do we need a setup menu? That is when we install the program and so on. So we will not use more time on this, because all these buttons here on the menus lead to cases or clients, addresses, contact informations, remarks, and if you go into setup, in here, user setup, preferences, owner information, and that is important to keep in mind. When you have these menus here, also we call it sometimes pages, because you have a header, you have a footer, and you have a body. In these menus here, you can't enter anything. Yes, you can enter into something, but you can't enter anything. There's no text you can enter. There is no files you can paste into it. All that has to happen on the cards. And when I'm talking about cards, let's just press here main menu, and let's try to go into a client. Here, this is a card. This is a client card. If we go out again and we go into the case, then we have a case file card. If we go out again and we want to go in and see, okay, what about the address? Then we have an address card. In here is where we enter data, in here. And what is important in the next step here is to understand that whole layout of an address card or a client card or a case card. So let's go in and take a closer look. How is these cards built up? Also, as I mentioned in my prior video, it's very important to understand why it is done the way it's done and the consistency of it, because if you know one card, you should really know them all. There is changes, of course. There is certain things that doesn't look the same when you go into different cards. But there are many things that looks the same, feels the same, and is the same, because it doesn't matter which card you're on, the functionality has to be there. So let's go in and take a closer look at that. So we are on this card, and as I have mentioned before, this card has a header, a body, and a footer. And all cards, if it's an address card or client card or case file card or what it has a header, it has a body, and a footer. The header and the footer is mostly used for navigation, and the body is where we enter our information, our data. When we look at this card here, we can see which card I'm on, because there's a label up here who says this is the address card. If I went back to the menu and into, let's say, client, we could see here it says it's the client card. Just underneath here across, we have the navigation buttons, where we have a button called Record, Management, and Navigation. The record is, what can I do with my records? I can list them. If I have listed them and I press the record button again, then I can go back to a card. The management, as I have mentioned before in a prior movie, has nothing right now, but that would be functions. If there were certain things I could do in a batch way in a way of going into a function and correct certain things, or move certain things, or look for certain things. That will be like in my management tool here, but it is empty for the moment because there is no tools right now. And then I have what we call the navigation over here, where I can navigate between my main menu, setup menu, startup menu, and if there were other menus or cards that I wanted to add here. When we go out of this card here, we are on the client card, but if we went into the case file card, you will see the same. We have up here, what card am I on? Here's the record, the management, and the navigation. If I go into the management, there is nothing for the moment. In here in record, if I press here, I could go in and list. Now I'm listing all my case files. If I go up here again, I can go back to my card. Then when I go over here to the navigation part, over here, when I press, I can go to my main menu, setup menu, or my startup menu. So these are similar in every card I go, because let's say I go down to my contact information card. Look, they look the same. Then underneath here, you can see there is some buttons here, and it has to be said, if the color is blue, then it is a springboard to either someplace else or to do something else. So if you see the blue color in some of this, it's because it can lead you somewhere, or it can start something up, or it can create something or delete something. It has a blue color. So here we can see that there is kind of a navigation buttons here, because I can go from one record to another. I am already on record number 1. How do I know? Because if I go down here to the bottom, down here is a place where I can see that I am on record number 1 here. It says number 1. Record number 1 out of 2,422 records in total. So why do I have the same number twice? Because in here, this is the number of found records. Because I could go in and filter on records. Go in and look at my records and say, yeah, but I only want to look for certain information, like phone numbers or area codes and so on, and how many phone numbers do I then have? And then it will come here and say, okay, but you're on record number this out of so many, and the total of records that you have in here is this number. But up here, like I said, this is the navigation tool, so I could go, I'm on record number 1. There is no record number 0, so I can't go to the left. So I can go to the right, or I can go up my records. So if I press here, you can see now I'm on record number 2. If I press again, I'm on record number 3. If I go up here and press this one, I go to the last record. Now I'm on record number 30 or 3,422. I could also have gone back to the first one, and now I'm number 1. Then here you can see the headline. It says here, this is the work phone number so-and-so. Okay, yeah, because if I go down here in the body, I can see here under the general tab, it says here work phone. So it's a work phone number, and here's the number, 201, so on, is up here because, let's say I shift tabs. Then you will see here, I see something else now. Now I don't see the work phone number, but I would like to know which record I'm on. Not just that I'm in a contact file card here, but which record I'm on. Yeah, but I'm on the work phone number so-and-so. If I go over to the client, you will see that makes perhaps a little bit more sense. Here I'm on a client card. The client's name is Alex Cerilia. Here you can see under the General tab, Alex Cerilia, or Alexis Cerilia. Cerilia, I hope I pronounce it right. So, but if I'm on another tab in my body here, if I go in and say, yeah, but I want to be on the list tab or the contact tab or the spouse tab, then you see I can't see what record I'm on. I know I'm in the client card, but I can't see which record, but I can see it here. I can see it here in the headline. I could also go to the General tab, and there is the information. Most of the time, the information that sits up here in the headline here can be found under the General tab. So if I went out of here and went into a case number, you will see here I'm in the case file card. I'm on case number 3188 because it says here case number 3188. So if I was clicking on some of these tabs down here, I can still see the case number here. So then I have these three. These three goes again on all cards except for some of the setup cards. But in here, when we're talking about case files, client files, there I have these three buttons and they do the same. They create here, in this case here, I'm in a case file. So if I press here, it creates a new case file. I can delete a case file and I can copy or duplicate a case file. If I was in a client over here, go into the client, you'll see I can create, I'm a client card, so I can create clients, create new clients, I can delete a client, and I can duplicate a client's information. Then when we go in here to the body, you can see there are different tabs. The same tabs that goes again in all cards are the following. You have on all cards, client cards, on your contact cards, or on your address cards and so on. You always have a general tab. You also have a list tab where you can list all your clients. It's called a quick list because you can see them here where there's not much information other than the headline that's here. You can see here, right now I'm on Alexius Sorelius card, but if I went down here to Solano Manuel and I pressed here twice, you can see now it jumped to his card. This is his name now. Now I'm on somebody else's card. But I have a general tab. That's where I have their first name, middle name, last name, and so on. I can list them. Then everything in here between until I come down to where it says link, personal, key, and info. These four last tabs here are on all cards. So I have a link tab here on my client card. If I go up here and into, let's say, my address card, you will see I have a general tab, a lists tab, I have a link tab, a personal tab, a key tab, an information tab. So if I go out of here and I went over to, let's say, remarks file, you will see over here, again, the header looks the same and so on, but I have a tab called general tab, lists, I have a personal, key, and information. Sorry, link, personal, key, information. I forgot that. So you see these 6 tabs goes again everywhere. These 6 tabs go again everywhere on all cards. So I have a general, list, link, personal, key, information. If I go out of this and I go under, let's say, contact information, I have the same general, list, link, personal, key, information. In between the general and list, in here, there. Here, this one is unique for this card. Here I have a tab called clients. But if I go over to the address over here, address, I could have a tab called clients, but it doesn't always have to be that way. But you can see my general and list. Then in between my list and my link, I have here I have a client and a maps. And then I have link, personal, key, information. Go up here again. Go back again to the address card where we started. So you see in here, general, lists. I have a link, personal, key, information. And in between here, I have a client and a maps. Then most bodies here is divided up in 2 sections. Most tabs are where I have a left side and a right side. The reason it's divided up is so that there's room for more information. But it's not always the case. On some tabs, there is no left-right. There is only one big tab. When I go down here, as I mentioned before, down here I can see what record I'm on. I'm record number 1 out of so many records in total, but on a found set, let's say that I have filtered on something, then I would have like here on record number 1 out of so and so many, but the total is so and so. The reason these 2 are down here is also if you have a number here in the found set and in the total set of records. If these two are the same, then the chance for you to have filtered on this card is slim, because else you haven't found anything when you filtered. Let's say that I go up here. I am on the address card. And let's see if I can find, let's say, New York. So let's go in here and say New York, NY, and then I press on Find. Then it will go in, because there's more than one record, then it will list them in here. It's still searching, and here we have to be a little bit patient, because the first time you search in here, it takes a little longer because of filtering and so on. But next time you filter or search, it will go quicker. So right now it is searching on all records, and you can see here you have 2,916 records in total. But in New York, an address card in New York, you only have 66 address cards in New York. So you are on record number 1 out of 66 that has to do with the state code called New York. To lift that filter again, because now if I went in here, if I went to the last record, I would go back to number 66, not 2,916, because it's the last record of the found set that goes by this number. So if I go to the first one, okay, that's number 1, but if I go to the last one, that's 66. If I want to be able to go through all 2,916 cards, I have to lift that filter again, and I do that up here where we can see there is like a funnel. When I press that, then I get all records again. The structure of this is that, like I said, there is a header and there's a footer, and then there is the body. This is the structure of a card. But if you go in and look at a list, like go up and say record and lists, it nearly has the same structure, because the only thing it doesn't have in a list, you can't enter anything other than you can list something. But you have a header. You can see here you're on the address list and not on the address card. You have the 2 navigation buttons here, and then you have all the addresses listed here. You can't see them all, but the ones you can see here, you can take the elevator. You can see this one I call the elevator. So you can move that up here, up and down. And then I have the button down here, and I can see here that I have access to all 2,916 addresses in here. I can see what the client is and so on. I will go through some of the other buttons that you find around here, but these are the basics, because if I go out here and I go into a case, so if I'm in a case here, I go up to records and go into lists. You see, it looks very familiar. It's just that now we're listing all the case files. And then you can see in here, when you're in the case file, there is 3,001 case file. And I'm on number 1183 or 1183 record. So let's go out of this. So that gives you a little bit of the structure. I have gone through now the main menus, the setup menus, the startup menus. But when I go into the cards in here, you will see that you have the cards look very familiar, where you have a header and a footer, and you have a body, and in here you have certain tabs. These goes again everywhere. You have also these function buttons here where you can create a new record, you can delete a record, and you can duplicate a record. So when I started the video and said what we want to look at, we want to look at the layouts. Here's the layouts of the cards, and we could also just look at the layouts of the lists. But there's not much to see other than you have a header, you have a body, and then you have in here between. Here you just have a list. I hope that you have learned a little bit more about the layouts and the information structure when you get into a card or you get into a list in here. And how I get out of these cards, like in here, if I'm in a list, I can always just go up here and click here, and I'll go back to the main menu. If I didn't want to do that, let's say I'm in the address again, I'm here in a list, but I don't want to go back to the main menu, but I want to go into one of these addresses. Okay, I can take the elevator up here. Out of these 66, say, oh, I say here, there's one here in Newburgh. If I click twice on that, then I will jump to that specific card now. Now I'm record number 25th out of the 66 found records. not record number 25 out of the 2,916. It just tells me that right now I'm filtering down here. So if I want to release that, I go up to the funnel up here and I click here, and now you will see I have access to them all again. Now that filtering of New York is gone. I'll end the video here, and then I'll make a new video where we will again go back to these cards and go through these cards individually, so that I will go in and show you, if you are on a client card, what do you see and what can you do and how does everything work. That's it. I hope that this class or training or information here gave you, so you know what these cards are used for. That's it.